Captain Sarah Chen had been warned about the Varkesh homeworld before she landed. The diplomatic briefing had been clear: apex predators, strict territorial instincts, and a natural distrust of anything that moved differently than they did. The Varkesh were wolf-like creatures, standing 7 feet tall with midnight black fur, razor-sharp claws, and eyes that glowed amber in the dark. Their society was built on strength, and they respected power above all else. Sarah was 5'4", carried no visible weapons, and had arrived alone on their moon colony to negotiate a mining treaty. The Galactic Council had sent her because she was good with difficult species. What they hadn't mentioned was that the Varkesh settlement was in the middle of their breeding season. She sat in the communal gathering space, a circular room carved from dark stone, waiting for Elder Rakthis to return with the treaty documents. The air smelled of pine and something metallic. Around her, adult Varkesh moved with careful precision, their claws clicking softly against the floor. They kept their distance, watching her with those unsettling amber eyes. Sarah kept her posture relaxed, her hands visible, and her breathing steady. First rule of xenodiplomacy: never show fear. That's when she felt the first tug on her jacket. Sarah glanced down. A small Varkesh cub, barely the size of a terrier, had its tiny claws hooked into the hem of her thermal jacket. Its fur was still fuzzy, not yet the sleek pelt of an adult, and its eyes were too large for its narrow face. It stared up at her with curiosity, not aggression. Behind it, 2 more cubs tumbled over each other, squeaking in their high-pitched way. The adult Varkesh in the room went absolutely still. Sarah could feel the tension spike like electricity in the air. She understood immediately. These were predator cubs, vulnerable, precious. And she was an unknown alien who could be perceived as a threat. Sarah did not move. She kept her hands on her knees, fingers spread, non-threatening. The cub at her jacket tugged harder, trying to climb. Its siblings approached more boldly now, sniffing at her boots. One of them made a chittering sound that might have been playful. Sarah remained perfectly calm even as her heart hammered in her chest. The cubs were testing her, or maybe they were just curious. Either way, the adults were watching to see what she would do. Slowly, with exaggerated care, Sarah shifted her weight to make her lap more accessible. The first cub took this as an invitation and scrambled up her leg, its needle-like claws pricking through her pants. It was surprisingly warm. The other 2 followed, climbing over each other in their eagerness. Within seconds, Sarah had 3 predator cubs crawling over her like she was a jungle gym. She kept her expression neutral, though inside she was screaming at herself to stay still. One wrong move and the adults might interpret it as aggression. The cubs squeaked and tumbled, their little tails whipping back and forth. One of them tried to bite her jacket zipper, growling in a way that would have been terrifying if it weren't so ridiculously tiny. Another one head-butted her stomach, demanding attention. Sarah let them explore. The cubs pawed at her hands, sniffed her hair, and chewed on her jacket strings. She didn't pet them, didn't try to control them. She simply existed as a warm, stable presence, while they satisfied their curiosity. Around the room, the adult Varkesh began to relax. A few resumed their conversations in their growling language. Others settled back into their seats. The cubs grew bolder. One wriggled its way under the front of her jacket, seeking warmth. Sarah felt its tiny body press against her shirt, vibrating with what might have been purring. The second cub noticed and immediately wanted in on the action. It shoved its way in from the other side. The third, not wanting to be left out, burrowed in from below, popping its head up near her collarbone. Sarah now had 3 apex predator cubs using her as a heated bed. Their combined weight was noticeable, and their claws kept catching on her clothes. But she didn't dare adjust them. She sat very still, barely breathing, while the cubs squirmed and settled themselves into comfortable positions. The one near her collarbone yawned, showing rows of tiny, sharp teeth. Its breath smelled like meat. Minutes passed. The cubs' movements slowed. Their breathing deepened. One by one, they stopped wriggling and went limp with the sudden completeness of young creatures surrendering to sleep. Sarah felt the weight of them against her torso, warm and trusting. She maintained her position, even though her back was starting to ache and her legs were going numb. Elder Rakthis entered the room carrying a data pad. The old Varkesh paused mid-step, his ears swiveling forward as he took in the scene. Sarah met his gaze calmly, as if having 3 cubs sleeping under her jacket was the most natural thing in the galaxy. Rakthis's lips pulled back slightly, revealing teeth. For a moment, Sarah thought she'd made a terrible mistake. Then she realized he was smiling. The elder approached slowly, his movements careful not to disturb the cubs. He settled into the seat across from her, setting the data pad aside. When he spoke, his voice was a low rumble. "The young ones have chosen well. They sense no danger in you." Sarah allowed herself a small smile. "They're very trusting." "Only with those who are safe," Rakthis replied. His amber eyes studied her with new respect. "Among our people, there is no greater honor than to be chosen as a guardian by the young. They read what we adults sometimes forget to see. You came here with no weapons, no guards, no armor. Just yourself. This is true strength." Sarah felt the cub near her collarbone shift slightly, making a small whimpering sound in its sleep. She still didn't move. "I came to build trust, Elder. Trust requires vulnerability." Rakthis leaned back, his expression thoughtful. "Your species confuses us, human. You are soft-skinned, slow, weak by our standards, yet you conquered your world and reached the stars. You sit now with predators who could end you in seconds, and you show no fear. How?" Sarah considered her answer carefully. "Because fear would make me dangerous, and I have no wish to be dangerous here. Your cubs understood that before you did." The elder's ears flicked in what Sarah had learned was agreement. "My daughter, Shenra, is their mother. She has been watching from the upper gallery since you arrived. She was ready to kill you if you harmed them." Sarah's stomach tightened, but she kept her voice steady. "I understand. I would expect nothing less from any mother. And yet you allowed them to approach, to climb on you, to sleep on you." Rakthis tilted his head. "You are either very brave or very foolish, human." "Maybe both," Sarah admitted, "but mostly I just didn't want to scare them." A new voice, female and sharp, came from behind her. "You could have pushed them away, stood up, walked to another part of the room. Instead, you became a sleeping den for cubs that are not yours." Sarah carefully turned her head to see a female Varkesh descending from the gallery. She was slightly smaller than Rakthis, but moved with deadly grace. Her eyes were fixed on Sarah with an intensity that made Sarah's survival instincts scream. "I didn't want to reject them," Sarah said simply. "They weren't doing any harm." Shenra approached until she was close enough to touch the cubs. She reached out one clawed hand and gently stroked the head of the cub poking out near Sarah's collar. The cub made a sleepy sound but didn't wake. "You sat still for 17 minutes while my children used you as furniture. Your muscles are trembling from the strain. Why not ask for relief?" "Because they were comfortable," Sarah said, "and because I understood what moving might mean to you." Shenra's expression softened almost imperceptibly. She looked at Rakthis. "Father, I believe the human understands us better than most of the council races." Rakthis rumbled agreement. "Indeed. Tell me, Captain Chen, what does your species know of pack bonding?" Sarah thought of her childhood dog, of her sister's children who would fall asleep on her during movies, of the way humans adopted anything that stayed still long enough. "We're very good at it," she said. sometimes too good. "This is why you did not move," Shenra said. It wasn't a question. "The cubs pack-bonded to you and you accepted it." "Yes," Sarah admitted. "It seemed important." The two Varkesh exchanged a long look. Finally, Rakthis stood. "Captain Chen, the mining treaty is acceptable to us, but we wish to propose an additional arrangement. We would like you to serve as ambassador to our people, not just a human representative, but a true liaison, one who understands our ways." Sarah blinked in surprise. "I'm honored. But why me?" "Because you passed the test we did not know we were giving," Shenra said. She carefully reached under Sarah's jacket and extracted one of the sleeping cubs, cradling it against her chest. The other two remained nestled against Sarah, undisturbed. "Most aliens see our cubs and see weapons in training. You saw children. That is rare. That is valuable." Rakthis collected the other two cubs with surprising gentleness. As he lifted them away, Sarah finally allowed herself to relax, rolling her stiff shoulders. The cubs barely stirred, limp and content in their grandfather's arms. "We have learned that humans are dangerous in unexpected ways," Rakthis continued. "Not because you are strong, but because you make others want to trust you, to protect you, to follow you. This is a power we did not anticipate." Sarah stood slowly, her legs tingling as circulation returned. "I'll need to consult with the council, but personally I would be honored to serve as ambassador." Shenra nodded, already heading toward the exit with one sleeping cub. "Good. The cubs will expect to see you again. They do not forget those who are kind to them." As the Varkesh dispersed, Sarah looked down at her jacket, now covered in tiny claw marks and smelling distinctly of puppy. She smiled to herself. The Galactic Council had sent her to negotiate mineral rights. Instead, she'd apparently become an honorary pack member by doing nothing more than letting 3 fuzzy predators take a nap on her. Humans, she thought, really will pack bond with anything. Elder Rakthis paused at the doorway, looking back at her. "Captain Chen, one more thing. In our language, we have a word for those chosen by the young, Kreshvara. It means safe shadow. You are our Kreshvara now. Welcome to the pack." Sarah felt an unexpected warmth in her chest. "Thank you, Elder. I won't let them down." As she left the gathering space that evening, treaty secured and ambassadorship offered, Sarah sent a message back to Earth. "Mission successful. Also, I think I just got adopted by a pack of space wolves. We'll explain later." The galaxy, she reflected, was full of surprises, and apparently, it didn't matter what planet you were on. Cubs were cubs, and they all needed someone to keep them warm while they slept.